everybody. Today I am going to be talking about a couple of books that I read recently, and I'm going to be doing a little toast to one of my favorite people in the world who happens to be turning 40 today. So hi, my name's Talia. I love books. I love bandanas. I'm so glad you're at my channel today. First I want to apologize for the frogs. I've done a couple sound checks. I know it's not terrible, but you can hear some frogs in the background. It's like night and super toasty in here, and I live kind of rural, and like the frogs are going crazy tonight, which I normally love, because I love the sound. Like when the frogs start chirping, you're like, yes, spring is coming, like the winter is almost over, I can't wait. They're just a little bit loud tonight for this filming, but it's kind of hot and I didn't want to leave the window closed. So there's that. I also have two cats that are feeling very needy trying to get in on this side. So that's hitting me from that angle. But I do have 3 kids in bed. So we'll see how this goes. If you've been here a while, you know how it is around here. We just take it as it comes. So continuing on, I mentioned prior to my intro that someone is turning 40 today, and you can probably guess by, my channel and my paraphernalia up there that it's probably a Hanson, and yes, it is. Taylor is turning 40 today, or turned 40, because we're almost at the end of the day. So in honor of Taylor, I have a hibiscus margarita. When I went to Tulsa last year, and if you've been watching my channel for a while, you know what I'm talking about. I'll link the video up here. Went to Tulsa. After the first show I went to in Tulsa, the first Hanson show, I found this Mexican place, and they served the most amazing hibiscus margaritas. So I ended up being there both nights after the shows, drinking these hibiscus margaritas and like eating chips and salsa and just having the time of my life in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And it just is such a great memory. So I learned how to make a hibiscus margarita at home. So this is 2 parts tequila, 1 part triple sec, 1 part hibiscus tea, and 1 part lime juice, and it is magnificent. So Taylor Hanson's 40. That means I'm officially very old, because I first learned about Taylor Hanson in 1997. So when he was 14. So it's been a while, and yeah, Hanson has been my favorite band since then, and I just can't believe he's 40. And I just want to say that Taylor Hanson, in addition to being an amazing musician, is just a genuinely amazing human being. He has a nonprofit in Tulsa called Food on the Move, where they work to provide people with food that do not have access to enough food. They're actually doing like this, I'm gonna say the word wrong, but it's like hydro gardening, where they are working on growing food without soil, and in these like greenhouses with water as the source of energy. So he's just doing a lot of really good things with his spare time and his spare money. So I'm gonna put a link below if you would like to check out the good work that he's doing. You can check it out. He's also, the Food on the Move has put out like a little note if you want to donate to Taylor Hanson's 40th birthday. If you have any spare funds and you feel like supporting a really good cause, that is what I would recommend you do. So in addition to Taylor being 40, being an awesome musician, and just taking care of his community, he also has a beautiful wife named Natalie and 7 children. So can I just say, good job, Taylor, but good job, Natalie. Natalie also homeschools them all, and she takes them on tour with him. You guys are just the coolest family. Like, they have their own tour bus. They have all the kids in there. She teaches them all. And Taylor and Natalie take turns driving the bus. Like, they don't even have a driver. And let me tell you, Taylor Hanson can definitely afford to have his own driver. But he, like, I just love how they're such, like, a down-to-earth, tight-knit family. I just love it so much. It makes me so happy. So anyways, long ramble. Most of you guys are probably here to hear about books, but it's my channel, so here we go. I'm super chatty. I haven't even had the margarita yet. So yeah, if you were here to hear about books, it's coming, I promise. But first, let's do a little toast to Taylor, to 40, to many, many, many more years to come. Thanks for being such a huge impact in my life. Cheers. It's good. Okay, so moving on. We are going to talk about 2 books today. One is a historical fiction and one is a romance, which you guys know I do not read a lot of romance. So I think we'll do historical fiction first. So the book I read was my book club's pick for February, and it was Hotel on the Corner of Bitter and Sweet by Jamie Ford. This was Jamie Ford's debut novel. It won the 2010 Asian Pacific Award for American Literature, and it is an amazing book. This book takes place in Seattle, Washington, during the Second World War, so like 1942-43-ish time period. It is about the Japanese internment camps that they took all the Japanese out of the cities and put them in during this time, which I had no idea about. So it's another glorious failure of the public school system, because I don't know how I grew up on the Pacific Northwest and definitely studied World War II in school, but had no idea of this happening. So basically, after Japan bombed Pearl Harbor, there was a lot of like skepticism and fear about the Japanese people, and it was ended up being decided that we would collect them all and take them and put them in these internment camps. The problem with this is that like most of these Japanese people that were living in Seattle and all, you know, up and down the West Coast and in other parts of the country, like they were American citizens. Like these people had been here for decades, some of them, like born here, born in our hospitals, like had homes, had businesses, had lives, and the United States basically just gave them like a couple of days to pack up. They could take like 2 suitcases each, and they had to leave the rest of their stuff and go to these internment camps for, it ended up being like a couple of years to the end of the war, and while they were gone, you know, their homes and businesses were basically taken over. They had nothing to really come back to and had to kind of move on from there. So this story is historical fiction, but based in a lot of facts. It is dual timeline. We have a 12-year-old boy, Chinese boy actually, who meets a 12-year-old Japanese girl. They become friends, and then she is taken to this internment camp. So it's kind of how they both deal with this situation. It's interesting because the boy is Chinese American, and his father is very against the Japanese because the Japanese have been fighting in China for this long period of time. So there's like racism on that part with the Chinese fathers, like, you are not going to hang out with this Japanese girl, like, no way. And then you have all the Americans being like, get out of our town, we don't want you here. And like, man, it was a tough read, honestly. Like, it was tough. And not so much like, I feel like the story was beautiful. I feel like the story was really well done. Loved the characters. I felt like they were 12 years old. I feel like, and they were like basically in love, like when they were separating, you know? And I feel like for me, I was like, you could have just made them a little bit older. And it wasn't like gross or like, you know, like physical or anything. But for me at that part, I was a little bit like, oh, this would be more believable if they were a little bit older. But they did reference how in China and Japan at that time period, they married young. So I feel like they were kind of trying to cover it there. But also they had both grown up in the United States the whole time, so the culture was not getting married at 12 then. So I was kind of like, meh. Really, it's neither here nor there. It was a 5-star all the way. I don't cry a lot when I'm reading books, and I definitely was crying when I read this one. I just felt like it was very emotional. It hit very close to home. I think, especially when I looked up, because part of the plot line of this story is he goes many years later and he finds like some of his Japanese friends' stuff in the bottom of this hotel. And this hotel actually still exists today, and there is Japanese stuff like that they stored when they had to leave and they never came back for. So like, I don't know, it was just tough. It's really tough. It's tough to understand why that happened. And I get that people do like really stupid things out of fear, and that, you know, they were worried about spies and worrying about like all this other stuff, but it's just crazy to me that they packed up like these just families that have been living here and were like, you don't get to be in your home anymore, you don't get to take any of your stuff, like you're just going, you know. It was definitely a must read. If you do not know about this time period and the Japanese internment camps, I would definitely give it a read because it was really eye-opening and yeah, super emotional. Tough one, but a good one. Everyone in my book club loved it. It prompted some really good conversations, and yeah, definitely recommend that one. Okay, let's take a drink and we'll move on to a lighter topic, okay? Kind of, sort of. It's like perfectly balanced. I just want to say I'm pretty good at making margaritas. Yeah. Okay, so I read Beach Read by Emily Henry. I just got like condensation on it. You guys know that I do not read a lot of romance, for various reasons. But I had been seeing Emily Henry everywhere, and she had been recommended to me by a lot of people who read romance and say this is good for people that don't particularly like romance. So I thought I would give her a try. My friend actually sent me this for Christmas. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna give Emily a try. I'm gonna do it. So Beach Read follows two characters. They're both writers, and they end up in these beach houses next to each other, and they both have gone through like some traumatic stuff in their lives, and they're both kind of struggling, and they're having writer's block, and they can't like get on with their writing. So Augustus is the guy, and January is the girl, and January writes like romance book, and Augustus writes like kind of thriller, like angry books, like that don't have anything to do with romance or happy endings. So what they end up doing after kind of meeting and starting to hang out and discovering each other's problems that they're having, they decide to trade genres and try to write a book in each other's genres. So it kind of goes from there. I mean, it's a romance, so obviously they go from kind of not liking each other and not really respecting each other's genres to falling in love. And I really liked most of it. I loved their characters. I loved like the depth of their characters and kind of how they, I feel like Emily Henry did a great job making you kind of feel what they were feeling and understand where they were coming from and why they were acting the way they were acting. I just loved both of them, and I was rooting for them, you know? I was like, come on, fall in love. Like, they were just gonna be so cute together, you know? Okay, you can probably guess what I'm not gonna like if you have read this and you know me at all, that there was some highly graphic, intimate scenes in this book. And we're not talking like a couple pages that you can just skip. We're talking like chapters and chapters of hot steaminess. And it just wasn't for me. That part was not for me. It kind of was really disappointing for me because I don't think I will read any more Emily Henry after reading that, just because that's not the kind of content I want. And I was really bummed because I really did love her characters, and I loved the story, beginning, middle, end. Like, I loved like how it went. I thought there were so many cute, sweet moments, and I just think for me, that whole like graphic section I could have done without. I just don't appreciate it, like especially in a book where I'm like, you kind of start feeling like they're your friends, you know what I mean? You're like rooting for them, you're like loving the characters, and then you're like, ah, my eyes, you know. For me, it doesn't do it for me. I'm just kind of a person who's like, let's just have them have like an intimate kiss and then like turn off the lights and wake up in the morning and we're so happy and in love, you know. That's more my kind of style. So yes, I still would recommend this. If that content doesn't bug you, totally recommend this. For me, it knocked off a star, and unfortunately, I probably will not be reading more. So if you have romance recommendations that are like Emily Henry, like this style, this kind of character, this kind of story, without the graphic intimacy, please let me know in the comments, because I love the way this book made me feel, and I would love to read more books like this, but I definitely need them to be less graphic. So please help me with that. Okay, I think that's all we're going to say for tonight. I hope you're having a good day wherever you are. I hope you take some time today to read a good book or two, and if you're having a bad hair day, just wear a bandana. Bye.